Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here. Today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're going to be going ahead and doing the 3 units that will be coming to global early here, seeing that we know a little bit more about what's going on. Now this is mainly going to be pertaining to at least the battle pass little box that we end up getting, and if you go ahead and open that on global, you'll actually end up seeing the next few characters that are grayed out, or at least the next few weapons that are grayed out here. These weapons are pretty much telling us the exact dates for these characters and letting us know exactly when they're going to be coming out. So we're going to finally go over this, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly if they're worth it, and if they aren't, if they are, you guys can just go from there. But with that in mind, thank you guys for at least considering to watch this video here, and let's get straight into it. So regarding the characters that are going to be dropping immediately on global here, we're going to go ahead and start with one of the first ones that made a little bit of a splash on the first time that she dropped on TW. That character is going to be Yui here, or Bui, seeing that this character here was very popular. The main reason for it is because if you guys do know the person, or at least the actual icon Hatsune Miku, she kind of resembled something like it. People really loved at least her attitude, they enjoyed her actual style, and seeing that she was just the next limited, she was really just the next big thing. This character of course wields these 2 little chakrams that quite literally look pretty dang dazzling and are pretty cool to say the least. The only downside about her is she really was just loved for her looks for the most part. There wasn't anything else that came with this character. Although she was the only electric character out at this time, it still was kind of lackluster to some extent, seeing that her kit seemed a little bit flawed in the future. And I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, it's more or less pretty much a decent thing here, where she had her time in place, but now it's kind of gone. Now we're gonna go ahead and talk about this character just a little bit longer. Her herself is pretty darn good, right? Let's not get it twisted. She was okay at her point in time. She had her shines, and she was really showing what people could start doing inside of this game, seeing that it was huge numbers. These numbers were not something that other characters could just physically achieve so easily. In fact, there were numbers that people never really thought about. They thought these numbers were absolutely insane, and that, you know, it just couldn't be anything better. And I feel like a lot of people really need to at least know that, because when it does come down to this, at the end of the day, she is a cool character. She's going to be a character that was very helpful, and it's still going to be kind of helpful for the time being. So do understand that she will have very low standpoints with this. The main part for this is because she's squishy. At the end of the day, she is a squishy character that can die fairly easy, and much like other DPSs, she was in that category. But she had one more thing that was also bad about her, and that was mainly her team and her percentages. Her team here also kind of relied very heavily on living, and none of them really had a lot of life force to really hang on to. So it made it very hard to at least justify using this character, on top of actually trying to utilize her in an aspect of, okay, this character could very well do something. It was fairly difficult. Her percentages were kind of against her at the end of the day, and it made things a lot more problematic than anything else. Percentages are fairly low, and as a follow-up DPS with fairly low substats, or fairly low stats in general, it caused a little bit of a stir and a lot of problems. She did a lot of splash damage at times, but really the amount of setup it took for her was a little too much. So a lot of people didn't really like that too much, at least at the end of the day. Now, this isn't to discourage anyone from bullying, but I will say, if you guys wanted to know my opinion on this character, she's cool, but you definitely want to end up skipping out her banner. And the main reason for this, because we actually have 2 other characters that more or less you could go for, but still they're kind of skipped as well. So the next character that we're going to end up talking about is actually a standard character here, and it's one that is still prominently used quite often to this day as well, and that's going to be Marion. Now Marion is this standard character who looks kind of like a nurse, and she's pretty darn cool to say the least, but the only issue with her is she's just a healer. Like, she does her normal things, which is pretty darn nice. She gets a lot of what's it called, if you end up having A1, you're able to at least build up pin whenever you overheal, which is actually very helpful. She all in all is a blessed little healing unit, so you do have a lot of healing to your disposal, and with her being able to increase your damage dealt in general after she heals you, it just really made things a lot more easy. This is one of these few characters that are going to be dropping as well with Yui, and with at least this foresight, we can definitely say she is a very good unit. The only reason why I at least tell a lot of people to kind of avoid this character is because at the end of the day, she is a standard unit. You can't go for her if you do want to at that point. It really does depend on you, and I can't really tell you what to do with your account. But what I can do is at least offer some of at least my judgment in this as well, or at least my own experience. I love this character today and to death all the time, and I still use her with one of my most prominent teams, which is a DOT team, or a physical damage team as well. She's very, very useful, and with the amount of stuff that she can do, which is helping me live long term, actually utilizing her with other teams itself, it's one of the few things I could say that is very nice about this unit. Though there's not going to be many times where you're going to need healers, and that is where she kind of falls flat. Not only is she of course a just standard unit, but with the aspects of healers and defenders not really being needed too much, it also takes down her worth to some extent. We're always going to get this character in the future, seeing that of course she's a standard, so it's not really a big heart-wrenching thing to at least skip, but at the same time she's really decent or really good. So I mean, like, at the end of the day, it will come down to at least your decision. Not really going to tell you what to do on that one, but she's really good. In fact, you can use her in multiple teams, so sure you do keep that in mind. And of course, her weapon looks adorable. Like, look at this, a whole heart case. This is absolutely nice. Love the character, love everything about her, but she is a skip. Please do this unless you just really like the character. And then finally, we're going to talk about the last character that's going to be happening in the next few days here, and that, or at least next month or so, who has the next huge limited, and that's going to be my man Yusuke. Now, I am a very huge Yusuke supporter. He is one of the few characters that before I even started wailing on this game, or at least before I started actually spending hardcore on this game, he was one of the few characters that I last got kind of play wise. And even with investment, unfortunately this character, seeing he is built off defensive capabilities, he as a damage dealer wasn't really dealing too much. He was only bound to at least being used in his actual update progress, at least update period, and after that we don't really see much use in him. We've had more at least ice related defense characters that can help him do more, but even then he didn't deal too much. But the cool thing at least about Yusuke, if you did decide to go for him, is he was a defensive DPS who had counter attacks that acted as follow-up damage and did ice damage along the side of things. He also had an enhanced move that was based on his skill 3, which was pretty darn cool to see, especially when you swapped up just from his regular counter attacks to the enhanced counter attack. It was really darn cool at the end of the day, and I have to say, when it comes down to this character, it's pretty darn nice. The only issue is just like the man doesn't have much use. As AoE DPS, at the end of the day, we are looking for someone who has attack sab stats or attack main stats. That's usually what makes the world go round, especially for a lot of those huge numbers. Unlikely for our man Yusuke, seeing that most content doesn't really rely on that defensive mechanism, his defense properties for being a defense DPS really fell flat. After at least him being viable for about a patch or two, he lost a lot of at least his usability properties. The only moves that you really were trying to use was his second skill, and as well as his third skill really coming in handy. Though at this point in time, it really wasn't being the best for him. He did generate shields. He has still the best sustainability team, but it wasn't the best in the long run. So I thought, of course, it would be best to kind of announce this character for you guys to know exactly what he's going to be doing. And I don't know why I just said that twice, to be honest, but exactly what he's going to be doing. And I just did it again. Oh my gosh. But the one thing I can say that's a little bit of a increased lovely thing about this character is the man has a cool weapon. Like, let's be honest here. If I saw this weapon, I would genuinely just love it. Like, it has the scales around it just flowing. You got the water particles and the ice particles coming up here with, of course, the casing of the weapon. The golden hilt looks pretty darn dope. It was really hyped at the time, and it brought a ton of like things for a lot of people to enjoy. To be honest, as one of my favorite characters, I would hate to really skip the guy, but at least my TW account ends up having him, so I have him at least someplace. But those are the 3 characters that I'm going to talk about with you guys today. Of course, we have other banner schedules that most likely are going to get pushed up as well, so I'll be talking about them in the future, but hopefully this gave you some insight on the character. Will you end up summoning? Will you not? Of course, tell me down below in the comment section, and if anything, hopefully I'll be smart on about it and have fun. the end of the day, we are trying to have some fun, so do what you want. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. Peace out.